G'day from Cairns, guys. It's Mark Fernandez, and I'm back with another video. Yay! So I'll be showing you guys how to install these 9-inch driving lights. They're really, really bright. Really impressed with how they came out. And for 160 bucks, can't complain. So if you want to see me unbox these, go ahead and click that little card that's going to appear at the top of the screen. And you can watch that now, or come back to this, or and that will come with that. I'll show you all the hardware that came with this kit. So I've already got it installed now, but I will go through just a couple of things that would actually help if I knew how to install these before. They don't come with instructions, so I think it's going to be really helpful for you guys if you want to do this yourself. A lot of kits are really, really similar. I had a look at the King's kits. Very, very similar. The brackets even look identical. So this will be really helpful if you're also installing those. So let's get into it. Now you're probably wondering, why did I pick these lights to be my first project, or my first modification, I guess you'd call it, for the accessory for the Navara? Well, part of that was I do travel at night, so you know, I go to tennis at night time, and the roads can be quite dangerous. Especially with the stock headlights, I can't see around those blind corners. But yeah, so basically the reason why I chose to do this was these are the first things I'll be using. I did buy an air compressor as well. So I haven't had a chance to air down the tires yet or whatever, but that's definitely coming up. These lights actually don't come with any instructions at all. So trying to figure out how these bolts went in was a little bit tricky. One thing that would be pretty useful to know is the orientation of the bolts and the washers. So the way that that we did it was we had a look on the website just to see how they had it on the example. That was the closest we could get up, and it was really, really blurry, but we managed to get it in this order. So when you put it in, nothing goes on this other side here because it's just the thread. So it just goes, the bolt just goes straight into the thread on this side. But from the pictures, what we kind of deduced was that it starts with the bolt here, then it has kind of like an O-ring, there's a steel O-ring, and then it goes to a washer here, and it just screws straight into there. A little tip is don't do one side too tight, because there is quite a bit of play and quite a bit of distance between the light and the bracket. So if you do one side too tight, it's going to make the other side impossible to put the bolt in on the other side. So just do it hand tight first on one side, which you should be doing anyway, but hand tight on one side, hand tight on the other side, and then slowly tighten them kind of one side at a time. So one side of the bracket isn't being bent too far. So to do the bolts up that go on the bottom, I only used one bolt. That was just one straight through the middle. I feel that that's enough. These are pretty solid. They're not going anywhere just with that one bolt. The 3 bolts I felt was too much, especially if there's an issue with the light. I need to be able to repair it at the side of the road, and 3 bolts is going to take too long to try and get these out. So 1 bolt is fine. I can also, if I take out or just loosen up that 1 bolt, I can then twist these to the side, therefore giving me some light on the side of the road. So that was one of the reasons why I only went with the 1 bolt. Of course, I'm going to check to make sure it doesn't wobble loose, but at the moment it's holding pretty solid, so I'm pretty impressed with that. To actually install these lights onto the bull bar, what I had to do is try and get the socket into a position where I can tighten it. The angle for this is an Ironman bull bar. The angle there was not enough. It was okay to get it started. I found that I had to switch to going around the outside. Okay, and going down through these little openings here, just to insert the wrench there, and then get onto the bolt there, and then tighten it up from there. Okay, so that's kind of how we did that. Something that I wish that I did with these before I installed them the first time was actually keep them in on an angle, but in front of the bull bar here, top of the bull bar, because what I did was I decided to give myself more clearance so that the person that was helping me could actually hold the bolt down while I'm screwing in from the bottom. So I decided to twist it up put it underneath there. So I had a lot more room to work with, and they had a bit more room for their hand to go. Unfortunately, I had to undo the bolt again and actually twist it so that it is in front of the bar here, if that makes sense. But you can twist it enough so you get some angle, and you can get your hand underneath there. But I just thought that if I tilted it enough, the more I tilted it, the more room I would have. But I went to tilt it back, and it was hitting the top here. So don't do that. Learn from me. That's all I have to say about that. In terms of the tools that I used, so I just used these 2 Allen keys that were included in the pack. You had to use a 17mm socket. So yeah, 17mm to tighten up the bolts here. That'll work quite well. And just the 2 different size Allen keys. So the small obviously goes to small, and the bigger Allen keys worked with the bigger bolts that went on to the side here. So those ones we used for that. Before I installed these last bolts that would just really tie it down and really secure these in place, I wanted to run these for a couple of weeks just to see if the angle was correct, because these lock in the angle more than anything. So I drove around them for a few weeks, worked out quite well. Had a couple of night drives, and they lit up the road really, really well. So I was happy with that. I checked the angle of them, super happy. They're super bright. They have a massive beam. So even if you're a little bit off, it doesn't really matter, because you're probably going to get the whole road in front of you and any trees above you as well lit up pretty well. So I'm just going to go ahead and install these now. So this is how I'm kind of doing it. So like I said, just with the previous bolts, you're just going to put the O-ring nut. We've got the O-ring nut there like that, or the O-ring thing, the steel O-ring, and then the washer will go on top of it, just like that. Make sure the flat side is pressing up against the steel, just like that. And so probably just going to do a little bit of a time lapse now, and and get these ones installed. So enjoy. In the unboxing video, I have to apologize because I didn't show you exactly the close-up of this wire, of this socket, which I was a little bit upset about, because I wanted to show you guys the quality of the equipment. But you'll see that around the outside of this plug, there is rubber there to stop water coming in and making some problems. So that is something that I wanted to show you, a little bit of a feature of this kit, which I was quite impressed about. Now, we've had some rain here in the last few days up here in Cairns, and I was a little bit worried about these headlights these driving lights, keeping water out and also keeping it in, which is a bigger problem, because then they get fogged up and then it creates more problems again. So I was actually quite impressed. You'll see, I'll try and get a little bit of a close up, but you'll see that a little bit of water does get around the outside there, but I find that after a little bit of sun, it actually does dry up, and it works out quite well. So no problems there yet. I'll let you know if that becomes a bigger problem, but basically, I mean, if you're having troubles with it, just take it off anyway and dry them out, or just leave them off if you're parked somewhere for a long time. But another thing I wasn't able to tell you during the unboxing video was that this is a plastic cover here, but also the LED lights are protected with another plastic cover behind it. So if you were a little bit concerned about that, don't be. There is another protection there, but I keep this on. And also too, a little project I'm thinking about doing is tinting these yellow, so that when I hopefully will get to do the Kosciuszko trip this year, it'll be able to cut through the snow and the fog, which is what I'm more concerned about. So so that's a little project that hopefully I'll be able to do, and that way I can kind of take that off when I'm not using it. And so it could be a good little project there. So guys, for full transparency on this one, I didn't actually do the wiring, so I can't tell you exactly how to do the wiring. I did find a pretty good kit on Super Cheap Auto. I try to shop more at Autobarn just out of preference and it's closer. But yeah, so I didn't do the wiring myself. It was already there, which is a part of the reason why I like this car, which is why I bought it. Which we will be getting to hopefully in our next video where we'll do a walk around. I'm kind of thinking, I'm tossing up between doing an air compressor review and doing a walk around, but I'm sure that you guys would much rather see the walk around. But anyway, so let's, I'm just going to show you guys exactly what the wiring looks like. There's actually not a lot to see. I honestly, I don't know much about wiring at this point. All I had to do for this project was do some crimping. That's about as far as I got with the wiring, which I actually really enjoyed, and I'm trying to learn a little bit more about the wiring. But basically, this is what we're looking at. It looks, a little bit messy. Obviously, I don't quite know what I'm looking at. That's obviously when I have more conversations with auto electricians. That's going to be part of the conversation is, what exactly does each wire do? Where does it each go? You can see that, we've kind of got some fuses here. That's pretty, that's kind of like what you would see on those kits. If you were to get them from Super Cheap Auto, they often have like lines that you splice into your headlights so that when you flick on your high beams, it switches over, and also you've got your fuse to make sure that you're safe. So that's what those kits kind of come with, just in case you're wondering. But yeah, that's kind of what the extent of the wiring is. I think that the guy that had this car before me, he actually did have some, he actually had a dual battery going to the back. So some of this wiring is part of that. And again, I would like to actually figure out what each of these wires does. So that's kind of part of my learning journey at this point, and learning about kind of a new hobby really, because I've had modified car before this, but I actually haven't had anything like this, a four-wheel drive like this. So everything's kind of new to me. So I was quite lucky. I only really needed to use the male connectors. I didn't actually need the female connectors because they're already installed in the car. So all I had to do was just get the male connectors. And when I was doing the crimping, you keep it nice and straight, put it into that hole there, and then you crimp from the top, crimp that, and then from the bottom, and you crimp that like that. So the advantage of having the ratchet ones, which are a bit wider, is they cover the whole area. So you don't actually need to do 2 passes or 3 passes down the middle again. All you have to do is just 1 and then pinch. So I don't know, I might get one later, but I mean, these have worked well and they work perfectly fine for now. So I don't see why I'd need to upgrade anytime soon. But obviously if I'm doing more of this sort of stuff, it would be great to have better equipment. But for now, these worked really well. Now to route these cables, what we ended up doing was actually pushing it through this back piece here, which is like a little bit of an opening. I'll see if I can get a little bit of a close up there for you guys. We ended up routing it through that back piece just so there isn't too much play in that area, because we don't want it rubbing on things. We find that it stays there quite well. It doesn't move. If we were to route it over here in this opening here, we would find that there would be quite a lot of movement and be bouncing around when we're on the highway, which means it would start to cut through the cable. Even though it is like double insulated at least, we don't want to take that risk. Also too, the sides are quite sharp on the bracket, so we don't want it to be moving up and down on there. So as I said, the wiring for this car was already set up for driving lights, so it would make a good upgrade if you had halogens. But this is already set up here, ready to go. So all I had to do was just crimp some male connectors and connect that up to a female connectors that were already there. So that's how that connected into there. That's how it kind of looks under the hood there. So that's the front there, and then that's how it connects up there. So let's go for a little bit of a walk around now to the inside of the car, and let's have a look at what the switch looks like. Posty. And he's gone. All right, so let's have a look at the switch for how we actually turn these on. So we'll go around to the driver's door. We'll check out what's going on down here. So here we've got the that's actually the switch for it there. The switch is kind of an odd switch. I would rather get something that looks a little bit nicer and neater. Maybe for like around here, that would be quite nice. But anyway, for now, it does the trick. It's just got a simple, that's off. And I just leave it on because it's attached to the brights anyway, to the, yeah, so all I have to do is just flick it and it comes on, and I'll show you guys what it looks like just in the garage, yeah, shortly. Now guys, you're probably wondering, okay, they're installed, do they actually work? Well, let's have a look, and I don't know how this is going to show up on the camera, but let's just find out anyway. Whoa. So that's how they look. It's going to be tough to see how they show up on camera, but I'm sure the camera's struggling with this at the moment. But basically, yes, they are incredibly bright. A lot brighter than the stock high beam. That was actually one of the reasons why I chose to actually install these as kind of like the first thing I was doing, is because instead of replacing the headlights, which I found, well, one, LED headlights at this point, the ones I found anyway, were illegal. And the second thing as well is that they cost like $90, $100 just to get the bulb. So it made sense to get these for $160. They produce a lot more light than just a standard headlight. So yeah, that's why I chose these, and they worked out really well. I absolutely recommend getting the 9-inch ones. They light up the road and also the trees and all the surrounding area. So yeah, I was a little bit shocked when I turned them on for the first time. I was really impressed. So yeah, if you guys would like to see more of this stuff, make sure you click subscribe, like, comment, do all those things. Also check out my Instagram. I often have little previews of the videos that are coming up, the stories and that as well, but also some pictures as well that I take in the meantime. So if you guys would want to follow that as well, that'd be cool. So next videos will be the walk around, and also will be the air compressor. I'm thinking about doing that one next, definitely in the next few days, and we'll see how that works. It only costs about $100. So again, just really budget stuff. I know that money's tight at the moment with a lot of people, so all these budget things they're probably realistically what most people can afford if they are just doing projects for their car. So and me being included in that, I don't have a pile of money to spend on my car, so I'm just trying to get the best budget equipment that I can. So if you want to see more of that stuff, make sure you subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next one.